Hi friends, welcome back to A Beautifully Wrecked Life. My name is Cassandra and I am so excited to be sharing today's video with you. I had actually intended to have this video finished last week because I know a lot of you are also in planning mode for the next homeschool year. We ended up getting a severe heat wave in our area, and because we raise some smaller livestock, we really were struggling to keep everybody cool enough to get through those temperatures. So it took a lot of our time and energy. And so I did not get around to making this video last week like I had hoped. However, I think everybody's set for now, so we should be okay. For me to take a little bit of time to share with you our third grade Charlotte Mason homeschool curriculum choices for this year. Okay, so today's video is going to be a bit of a lengthy one, only because I want to make sure that I'm sharing all of the resources, the book lists, and the curriculum choices that we're using this year. I think it's super helpful to see what other moms are putting in their homeschool and how they're making that work. And especially in a Charlotte Mason education, if you are not using one big pre-made boxed curriculum, it can be very intimidating to choose all of these pieces and put them together in kind of a cohesive curriculum for your family. So I definitely encourage you to grab a notebook and jot some things down as I go. I will also be putting links below in the description to kind of help you find where these resources are. And I also have a link to my blog post where I have the entire list typed out with some pictures and links to get you started as well. So that's that. Let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so our first subject that I'm going to talk about today is Bible. So this year in our Charlotte Mason Bible rotation, we're going to be studying the book of Joshua and a little bit in Judges, and then 1 Samuel for our Old Testament study. And then our New Testament study is the book of Luke, which is kind of my favorite. My son uses this adventure Bible, which he got as a gift when he learned to read. This is kind of the big deal that we wanted to do for our kids. As soon as they start moving into level 1 of all about reading and they start learning how to decode words on their own, then they get their very own sort of grown-up Bible. It is a translation of the Bible that is at about the 3rd grade reading level. So it's really good for beginning readers to have their own scriptures. So this is what we use during our lessons. I read from this, my son reads along. And then to help me on the planning side of Bible, I have purchased a Delectable Education's Bible lesson breakdowns for the books that we'll be studying. And this is super helpful because it's a paid product on their website. I'm not going to share the content that's in here, but I will explain kind of what this is. So they have taken the books of the Bible and they have broken them down lesson by lesson to spread it out over 3 terms, which is very, very helpful. And then last year, I went ahead and created a resource for us to use in our home because we draw our Bible stories in addition to orally narrating. So I will read the scripture that we're going to be studying that day. We will have a quick discussion about it. My son will narrate the passage back to me. And then when we're finished, he gets to draw a picture. So you can see this is from Exodus. He gets to draw a picture of what we just covered as we were reading. And this really just kind of helps cement the story in his mind so that he remembers it later. And it has been very helpful, especially as exam time comes. He can kind of flip through that and remember some of the things that we've talked about. In addition to those 2 resources, I also have purchased J. Patterson Smith's commentaries for Joshua, Judges, and Samuel. There is not one for Luke, but these are really helpful for the parent, not so much the student, but just to kind of give you a little more depth and understanding to some of the scripture that you'll be reading. It just helps put things into context. So then when you're teaching it and going through it together, you can add more to it for your student. All right, so for literature this year, this is actually a continuation from last year. So Form 1A goes across 2 years, and so your literature book actually just stays the same. So in that regard, it's definitely easy. We did not have to order any new books. We don't have to prepare for anything new. All I had to do was kind of figure out how much do we have left and then forecast that out over the year. So we do literature 2 times a week. And for our first slot every week, we'll be reading Little Pilgrim's Progress. A quick note on this. Charlotte Mason definitely would have advocated for using the full unabridged version of Pilgrim's Progress. We made a different choice for our family. We decided that because it's such an important allegory that we really want our kids to read, love, and understand, And because I'm not just reading this with my soon-to-be 8-year-old, I'm also reading it with my 5-year-old and my 2-year-old. I wanted something that they could follow along with as well, because we do this as part of our morning basket. So we chose this new version, Little Pilgrim's Progress. The illustrations are absolutely stunning. My kids love the story, love really getting into the characters, and my almost 8-year-old, my oldest, is narrating this one exceptionally well. So I'm really glad that we made this choice, and we'll be continuing on with Christian's journey over the rest of this school year. And then next school year, we're actually going to read Christiana's journey. So that's kind of where we are with Pilgrim's Progress. And then our second slot for literature is our Greek tales. Last year we started a wonder book for girls and boys, and we really loved it. They're really fun Greek myths to read with your kids, and it's written in a really nice way. I just really like the story format of this. We will actually finish this book first term, and then we'll be moving on to the second book in that series, which is Tanglewood Tales. And so this will just spread out over the course of this school year. And so that will be for our Greek tales for literature. I'm very quickly amassing quite a pile of books. As I show them to you, I stick them in this pile over here, and it's like growing very rapidly. Okay, so I have a few different resources to show you for our history curriculum this year. So first of all, we're going to be studying the 17 to 1800s, which is going to cover that American Revolution time period. So I'm pretty excited to start digging into some of that American history. This year, we've chosen America First, the updated edition, as our spine for history. We're only going to be reading chapters 16 through about 52 in this book to cover that time period. And then in addition to the stories in this book, we also have a stack of biographies and picture books to kind of fill in some of the gaps, some of the information in there. So things like the 4th of July story, A More Perfect Union, and then some biographies on Benjamin Franklin and George Washington. And then also the winter at Valley Forge to kind of give a little more information about the Revolution. We may add to this. We'll kind of see how quickly we get through. I've been having a little bit of trouble forecasting history just because it is this book plus these, and I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to take us to get through each one. The other resource I wanted to share with you for history is Beautiful Feet Books' Early American History Teacher Guide. I don't follow the curriculum because I don't feel like it fits exactly a Charlotte Mason education. However, they do have a list of amazing living books to go with each time period. And so I use this really as just kind of my book guide. Okay, geography is another huge subject in a Charlotte Mason education. I did not realize how much emphasis Charlotte Mason put on geography until we really dove in headfirst to the Charlotte Mason method. And then Form 1B, it wasn't so much. But then when we moved into Form 1A, there are just so many pieces that get added to geography that we have a very, here's our stack of geography books. So, and that doesn't even include scouting or physical geography. So this is just the kind of core of our curriculum. So first of all, we will continue reading through Charlotte Mason's Elementary Geography Book 1 in the series. We only do this once every few weeks in order to cover the chapters that she recommended as she scheduled it out. So this is kind of our first spine reader, I guess you would call it. We will also be starting the British Empire. And obviously we're not starting with the British Empire. We're going to be starting with North America as we read through this one. We're going to add this to our morning basket. So it's just going to be one that we read a couple times a week. And I will forecast out the chapters that we're going to cover in this one as well. Another thing that we do, this is not something that we do daily. This is not even something that we do weekly. But part of our afternoon occupations is to work through some of the activities in map making with children. Really love this book because it gives developmentally appropriate activities for your kids to really understand how to create maps and just sort of how to use maps and place themselves in them. And then in addition to the map making activities, we read a book each year and have a map that goes along with it. So you can see up here, this is the one we did last year for Paddle to the Sea. So we read Paddle to the Sea and we followed along with Paddle's journey, and my son colored and labeled the entire map. And so we're going to be doing that again this year with Men of the Mississippi. So we just read through it fairly slowly. We read once a week. It's a leisurely journey through the book. And then my son gets to color and label the map that will follow men. And so that's always a lot of fun for us. And then finally, the big piece of the Charlotte Mason geography that we really love is the map questions. So I use a Delectable Education's geography map questions that they've put together. They've done all the work. So this is really helpful. And then we use the recommended atlas, the Children's World Atlas, and it has to be this newly expanded US section to go with the map questions so the pages line up. But then we'll use this one for the actual map questions, and my son loves it. We have really enjoyed this so much more than I expected. So I highly recommend doing the map questions if you're not already. And then with that, we read, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Is it GUYOT or GUYOT? I don't know. But we read the Geographical Reader and Primer with each of the map questions section. So we do the map questions first, and then we read out of here, and that kind of gives us this nice narrative of the countryside as you travel along. So we really enjoy that piece too. So that's geography, and it's a big one. Okay guys, my stack of books down here has just tipped over. I've lost the whole thing, so it's a mess on the floor. All right, let's move on to composer study. So this year I was introduced to TILLBERRY Table's composer study guides, and these are absolutely fantastic. We used one for term 3 this past school year, and it's so helpful. So what we normally do is check out a picture book biography on our composer that we've chosen for the term. We read that, we learn a little bit more about their life, and then we just listen to their music. And honestly, that's a very rich study all by itself. But adding this has been really helpful. Because it helps us plan which select compositions we're going to listen to. And the other thing is it gives a little bit of backstory and some questions for each one, just to kind of get you thinking a little bit deeper about the composer and those pieces that you're hearing. So I highly recommend TILLBERRY Table. You can find this store on Etsy. And again, I will drop the link below for you to head over there if you are interested. Our artist study, we use Simply Charlotte Mason's picture study portfolios. So this year we're going to be starting with Gainsborough. And so what comes with this is the packet with some biography on the artist, and then you also get some information and sort of descriptions and questions on each painting, and so that's also been very helpful. Plus you get the paintings that you can print out. So I print ours out, I laminate them, and then we keep them displayed on an easel in our homeschool room, and then I just switch them out as we switch out our picture study. And I also print a small version of each picture that I then clip to a line that we have hanging, just to kind of keep them displayed throughout the entire term. So you can see all of the pictures in one place. So we really enjoy having that, just the artist's work displayed in our homeschool room in this space kind of all the time. So that is composer and artist study. All right, and this is a subject that I really struggled to get into a little bit until last year, and that is Solfa. I really had a hard time. I don't come from a musical background, really didn't understand the concept of sight singing, and to be completely honest with you, I'm still really trying to wrap my mind around how it fits into the bigger picture, but I'm just trusting everybody who says that Solfa is both helpful and important, and we do it. So last year we used the website singsolfa.com, and that was very helpful. It's free. It's YouTube videos put together in a collection. This year we are going to pay for a subscription to Miss Mason's music. And I'm really excited about that because we're going to take what we've learned and just go deeper with that. It's also arranged a little bit more cohesively, I think, and will give us just hopefully a broader understanding and a deeper knowledge of Solfa. All right, and then for recitation this year, we take Charlotte Mason's recommendations to do poetry, hymns, and psalms. And so what I have done is with each piece that we're going to be reciting, I bought one of these menu covers that you can get on Amazon, and I just print out the recitation piece. So like this is a Robert Frost poem, The Road Not Taken. I just stick it down in the sleeve, and then they have this nice book that they can hold on to as they're reciting. It doesn't get crinkled, the pages don't get dirty, anything like that. So it's really nice to just be able to pull this out, recite from it, and then put it back. And it works really well. It lasts over the course of the entire year, because I do like to prep this for the whole entire school year at a time. That way I'm not scrambling each term to figure out what we're doing. So that's how we do recitation. And then let's talk about handicrafts, because this is another area that I really love and we have really enjoyed putting into our homeschool. But it is also one that can be a little bit overwhelming because there are so many options. And so what I had a hard time with the very first year that we did Charlotte Mason for Form 1B was wanting to do all the things for handicraft. Like I looked at the list of possibilities for a kid my age and I was like, let's do them all. That was not a very good plan. It's just simply too much to keep track of, to manage, to make sure that we're getting everything. And you don't get a very thorough knowledge when you do that. So last year I wisened up a little bit and we slowed down. We really focused on just paper folding using a couple origami books. And then we did one kind of major skill per term. Last year we did sewing, then we did some needle felting, and then we did some candle making. What we did not do very well last year was fitting in our clay modeling. So we're supposed to spend one term each year focusing on clay modeling, and I did not do that until the very end of the year. So all of that to say, for handicraft this year, we will be doing clay modeling. We've chosen to do it first term because I want to make sure that I get it in there and don't forget about it. And then this year, we're going to be moving into that more formal paper sloyd using the paper modeling book. And I'm really excited about this. My son's actually going to be cutting and gluing and making 3D models with paper. So I think he's really going to enjoy this. And then we're just going to pick another skill, one per term, to focus on. So I want to continue sewing, taking some of those basic stitches we learned last year and going a little bit further with those. We also are going to be focusing on gardening because this is our first year having a large family garden. So that's actually one of our handicrafts is gardening, canning, kind of all of that stuff. And then I'm not really sure yet what the other one is going to be, but it will just be one. And I cannot forget to mention brush drawing, because brush drawing and drawing were also big parts of a Charlotte Mason education, used in nature journaling and just used in lots of different ways. It's supposed to happen 3 times a week. I totally dropped the ball on this last year, and we did not do it as consistently as we needed to. We are going to continue using Bestowing the Brushes video course. We are in the beginner course. We've gone through it so slowly though that she now has an intermediate course. And so I'm really excited that once we finish the beginner course, we can just move right on along into the intermediate course. We love the Bestowing the Brush courses because we feel like the lessons move at a really nice pace. They're short, they keep their attention, and they give them one skill to practice at a time so it's not overwhelming. So I highly recommend Bestowing the Brush if you're looking for a good brush drawing course. All right, so our reading choice this year will not be a surprise if you have followed my blog for any amount of time or if you've even seen any of my other videos. We are huge fans of All About Reading. It is not explicitly Charlotte Mason, but I find that it fits into a Charlotte Mason education very well on the phonics side of things. Charlotte Mason did also have her students do some whole word or sight word learning. We don't do that as much. All About Reading does introduce some what they call leap words as sight words, and so we just do that. And then we do add in some of those other readers for my son to practice. But this is our primary reading curriculum. So I guess in that way, we are not complete purists in the Charlotte Mason education, but we just really, really love All About Reading. My son is we're like at the end of level 2. And so then we're going to be moving on to level 3 sometime, my guess is during term 1, because he's that close to finishing it. So that's our reading curriculum. And for math, I'm sure this is not a surprise either, but we're going to be using the Charlotte Mason Elementary Arithmetic Series, book 2. So my son finished book 1 last year and we loved it. This year, we're going to be moving on to book 2, and I'm just as excited as I've looked ahead and kind of planned what some of these lessons will look like. I am thrilled. I'm just so thrilled. What a blessing this has been to our family. So if you're a Charlotte Mason educator, I highly recommend that you look into the Elementary Arithmetic Series as your math curriculum. And then we also make a couple of unorthodox choices in our Charlotte Mason homeschool where we don't follow exactly what she did in her schools. We do some copy work in the morning. That's kind of the very first task my son does before we ever even start morning basket. But I also wanted to add in kind of a formal spelling curriculum. So we use All About Spelling. Again, probably not a surprise. We just really love this company. We love their material. We love what they're about. And after reading a book called Understanding the Logic of English, I really wanted something that was going to teach the rules of English, because believe it or not, there are not that many exceptions to the rules. So we use All About Spelling and love it. Again, my son is almost finished with level 1. We didn't start this at the beginning of the year. We started in about February. So he'll be finishing this up and then starting level 2 probably toward the beginning of the year as well. And then again, instead of only doing copy work for our handwriting practice, we are using the rhythm of handwriting. So we started this one last year also, probably in about December. And we're going to be finishing up the book and then going back to the beginning and starting over. So for drill and dancing, this year we're going to continue using our syllabus of physical exercises. I was able to print this for free. I believe it was from Google Books, but I'll get you the link below. We're just going through it one little bit at a time, just for a few minutes a day. It really is not a stressful thing. We enjoy drill. So this is our drill curriculum. And then for dancing, so folk dancing is still what we're doing for Form 1. Because we're subscribing to Miss Mason's music, she actually has a section on that website for dancing. And so we're going to be utilizing that this year, because dancing was one of those things that I didn't do a fantastic job with. And so I need a little help, and that's where I'm going to get it this year. And then for natural history, we have a stack of books here. We are going to be reading The Christian Liberty Nature Reader. This is book 2 in the series. We really enjoy these. This will spread out over the course of the year. Then our first term Buckley book is going to be Plant Life in Field and Garden. We started this for term 3. We're going to be finishing it for term 1. We're going to be reading Birds of the Air for term 2. And we're going to be reading Insect Life for term 3. So this will fill one of those nature study slots. So there are 3 of those per week. This fills one. These will fill the second one. And then our third one is kind of that special studies slot. And we're going to be continuing with the year round. So we didn't hit every single topic last year. So we're going to start again in summer and just follow the seasons in this book and study the rest of the things that we didn't cover. We also have the Handbook of Nature Study. I didn't use this as much as I think I probably should have last year. So I'm hoping to pull this out and use it more often this year. I think because I kept it upstairs in our homeschool room, it just wasn't very accessible. And so I need to have it downstairs in our mud room so that I can grab it either before or after we go on a nature walk. So this is kind of the 4th resource book. It's not one that we'll just be reading through together, but this will be used for nature study as well. All right, now comes Spanish, and this is a subject that we struggled with last year. We started with the ULAT and a sort of subscription service called 1/3 Stories. And I love the ULAT, and I would love to continue with the ULAT with my kids. What ended up happening, though, is the ULAT moves pretty quickly, and it's 100% immersive Spanish, and my son got lost after probably 6 or 7 lessons. Also, we knew that Charlotte Mason wants them to be reading. I should be reading books in Spanish to them. We should be studying Spanish poetry. We should be singing Spanish songs. I keep saying Spanish, but the foreign language that you are studying, whether that's French, Russian, Chinese, whatever it is, ours is Spanish. So I had a really hard time with that because my accent is not great. While I can speak Spanish at a basic level, my accent is terrible. And I didn't want to pass that poor accent along to my kids. I know that kids are way better about picking up accents than adults tend to be. And so I really wanted to incorporate some curriculum where we're getting to do all of those pieces, the books and the poetry and all of the things with a Spanish speaker's accent. Thankfully, I ended up finding Charlotte Mason Simple Spanish, and she just has year 1 published right now, but I think she's working on consistently adding new material. But this has been a total game changer for our Spanish because it's right at my son's level. My younger kiddos can join in because we're singing, we're reading, we're doing poetry. She gives book recommendations to be reading. And these are not just English books translated to Spanish. These are written in Spanish for Spanish speakers. So the cultural context is also true. So I really like that piece of it as well. And then there's poetry that the kids learn to recite. There are songs that we sing every week. I just really love how the whole curriculum is designed and put together. It is a total Charlotte Mason foreign language curriculum. She has some other languages on her website too, so definitely go check it out. I was so impressed. We started using this probably in about February when we started term 3. By our exam time at the end of the year, my son was able to recite an entire poem in Spanish with a wonderful accent and just blew me away. And then for our non-structured conversational Spanish that we are working on, we started using talkbox.mom, and we also are really enjoying that. So we're going through it a lot slower than I thought we would, but we are learning whole sentences and being able to put them into practice right away. And so I really love that piece of it. Our subscription is really just kind of as needed. I will request the next box because we're just not moving at any kind of pace. So I think that is our whole curriculum for this year. Hopefully I didn't leave anything out. If I did, I'll make a note below. But I also have a link to the blog post that has everything listed in one place. So if you weren't able to get it all jotted down at once, you can go check that out. And then I have links that kind of show you where everything comes from. So hopefully that is helpful as well. It has been a delight to share with you our curriculum. We are so excited about this year. We love the Charlotte Mason philosophy. We love the living books that we've been reading. We love the nature study and the history and just all of it. So come back and check out the video I'll have out later this week. I'm going to be sharing with you my son's kindergarten curriculum for this year. And then next week, I'm going to have 2 videos up where I plan for next school year. So one of them is kind of going to be going through the scheduling piece of our Charlotte Mason homeschool. And then the other part of it is going to be where I actually get in the nitty-gritty and start forecasting and lesson planning and how many chapters do we need to read each week kind of thing. So I want to share that with you so you kind of get a behind-the-scenes look at how I plan. And that's it. I hope that you had a wonderful holiday weekend. I hope that as you are preparing for your next school year, you're not feeling terribly overwhelmed. But I do hope that this was helpful, and I will see you next time.